welcome to the video. My name is Infamous Isaac, and I hope you enjoy it. This is going to be about Wano Part 1. Let me get into the spoiler-free section. Wano Part 1 is amazing. I love this arc. I'm going to give my rating of Wano at the end of everything, but I'm just here summarizing basically what's happening. So, Wano Part 1 is amazing. I love this part of Wano. Not my favorite, because that goes to Part 2, but Wano Part 1 is close for second, because Wano Part 3 is definitely my least favorite. So just be aware of that. But Wano Part 1, peak fiction. Genuinely peak fiction. It is so cool the way that we just get introduced to this not lavacious, but beautiful world that is Wano Kuni, which is awesome. Like, we have seen so much foreshadowing and all that in this story about Wano, so it's been a long time coming, being able to see what this arc is really about. And let me tell you, in some facets it doesn't disappoint, in others it does. And one of the biggest issues with that is pacing. Pacing has ruined one of the most like ambitious arcs that I've seen. For me at least. I don't like the third part of Wano. And I'll get to that in that part. But for right now, Wano Part 1 is amazing. The story is great, the characters are great, the introductions are great. We really just get to see everything. And we still don't know anything. And that's the best part. We're just at the beginning. Like, Wano Part 1 is the shortest for sure. Definitely the shortest. Then Wano Part 2 is like the middle. And then Part 3 is the longest, no doubt. No doubt the longest. So just be aware of that, I am gonna split it into three. So yeah, let me just get right into it, right? So Wano Part 1. This arc immediately follows after Whole Cake Island and Revelry, where now we get to see Luffy's side of Wano, where he's going in the Thousand Sunny. He's with Sanji, Brook, Nami, Chopper. We have Carrot, and that's it, right? Those are all the people that are with them. And they're going back. They're going to Wano, not back, because this is the first time they're ever going, and it's super cool, because you get to see this new island. It's been a long time since we've seen an island like this, and also just in release. You gotta remember that it's been a long time, probably like 2 to 3 years since we've seen the rest of the Straw Hat crew. Same, same way uh, with Dressrosa, how that was like 3 years of not seeing the Straw Hat crew, like in its entirety. The last time we saw the Straw Hat crew together was like Zoe. So it was really like 4 years ago that we saw the Straw Hat crew together, 3 to 4 years ago, and Wano's taking place like in 2019. So just it is crazy, Like, one thing that I noticed for sure, and a lot of people noticed, once we got to Wano, the animation style changed. We got a different art style, and while it's still the One Piece art style, the colors are more vibrant, the lines are stronger, the characters just look better. And this, like, One Piece has never looked better than it has today. Like, in its current form, One Piece looks amazing, and I love it for it, because when we get peak fiction with Wano, we really do get peak fiction. Like, it's crazy. Some of the best episodes in the series, like animation wise, come from Wano, and it just doesn't miss. Like, it generally just doesn't miss when it delivers. It's so awesome, generally so awesome. But yeah, so they're going to Wano. They have to climb up this waterfall. We realize that some characters are showing up that I will talk about later, but they show up in part two, not part one. But yeah, so Luffy and all of them get separated from each other because of the waterfall, and Luffy gets stranded on an island in Wano, while Sanji and all of them get sent elsewhere. They're all together. Luffy isn't. And so we meet Otama, who is an important character, very important character. By the way, I forgot to mention, Momonosuke and all them aren't with them. They're in Wano right now, so that's why they're not on the ship. But yeah, so we meet Otama, and we're having a nice chat. She's super cute, super cool, and it's just cool. We get to see this nice girl from Wano, and then we see immediately the problems with Wano, where this island is polluted. It's polluted. It's corrupted. It's starving. Like, it's inequality in its finest, and that's partly due to Kaido and Orochi, who is the governing sovereign of Wano, and we'll explain him later. But Kaido is the reason why Wano is in a bad spot right now. This is not what it was like 20 years ago, which, remember, 20 years ago is very important, so don't forget about that. But yeah, Luffy sees all these things like, yeah, now it just solidifies the fact that I'm going to beat Kaido up, bro. He's going to get dogged when I see him. And Otama gives Luffy rice, the last rice that she had, and we find out that it was her birthday rice that she got from her grandfather. And it's like, dang man, that sucks. That sucks so much. Like, Luffy didn't want to hurt her. It's just that she was too nice for her own good, and she gave him the rice, and she's starving now. So she went to go drink water, but it was polluted water, so she's sick. And her grandfather shows up, and she's like, "Oh," or he's like, "What do we do? What do we do? What's happening?" Like, and he starts blaming Luffy for this, but he's like, "No, don't worry, I got you. I'll save Otama." And so we actually learn through this interaction that Otama knew Ace, Porcus D Ace. She knew him because Ace went to Wano before. And we see how that plays into the story later on, but Otama knew Ace. She got to meet him and she finds out like, oh shoot, you're Ace's brother. And now she's super attached to Luffy. And so he goes out to the city to find some medicine to help him out and get her some food as well. And on the way, he meets Zoro. And it's like, oh shoot, Zoro, oh Zoro, like, and it's like that. There you go. It's the first time we've seen him in a long time. Zoro's here in well, I guess in a, I forgot what they're called, but in a Japanese style clothing, and they meet. We find out that Zoro is a wanted man in Wano because he killed some people because of self defense, or not killed, but more like defended himself. So he's a wanted man, and also because he's a straw hat pirate. And we learned that in Kaido's crew, a lot of the worst generation are in there, like X Drake, Hawkins, all these people, right? So we learn about that, and it's awesome. It's awesome because we get to see Luffy and Zoro versus Hawkins. Cool fight, really cool fight. But yeah, while that's going on, Luffy brings back the food for her, and she's chilling. She's having a good time. People are laughing, smiling, having a good time, and we actually meet somebody really important, Okiku, who we find out later is one of the members of the Red Scabbards, so Kianaman's group. So she is a samurai, and she is actually a he, but she's cross-dressing, and also she refers to herself as she. So I'm gonna be referring to her as she, her. So just for no confusion, like Okiku to me is a girl, and that's just the way I'm handling it. But yeah, so once Luffy finds out that the town that he went to that helped him out to get Otama some food and just help her out is being ransacked, he goes back, right? He goes back and we find out that Kaido comes down, bro. And I may be misremembering. If I am, just let me know. But this is basically what I'm remembering from my time watching it. But basically, we see what's it called? We see Kaido come down. And I don't remember if Luffy meets up with all the people with goodness, what's going on out there? With all of his crew before Act 2, but in Act 1, Luffy does see some of his crew. I just don't remember. Never mind. Yeah, he does meet up with his crew. So before he sees Kaido, he's actually talking with his crew because like Wano Act 1 is like 20 to 30 episodes long, so it's long, like it's decently long. But he actually does meet up with his crew. He meets up with Law and all them, and they're talking. They're trying to figure out what to do. And he actually meets up with Kianaman as well, like together. They're all together, and they're just talking. They're trying to figure out what's happening. And Kaido comes down to the village because he finds out that Luffy's here, and so he he's in his dragon form because Kaido has a dragon devil fruit, right? And he's uses his blast breath to destroy the section that Luffy's crew is supposed to be at because he knows that like, oh, this is where the red scabbards are supposed to be buried, right? If the ghosts of the red scabbards are still wandering around, then they're probably there. So I'm gonna destroy that. And Luffy and all of them leave just in time to escape that blast. And Luffy's like, dog, I'm beefing with you now, dog. It's over. It's over. Like it's crazy. So he goes into Gear 4 and he just goes over to the town and he just starts beefing with Kaido. Super crazy. Like he's in Tank Man and they're just beefing with each other. It's so cool. They're well not Tank Man, excuse me, Bounce Man, and they're fighting. They're having a crazy fight, awesome fight, genuinely amazing cinematography, or excuse me, oh yeah, cinematography, choreography, animation, voice acting, just awesome scene overall. Genuinely an awesome scene. And once we see the fight rearing down, Kaido one shots Luffy. Like he genuinely one shots him. He was playing around with him the whole time because he was drunk And it just goes to show that Luffy needs to get stronger. He can't fight Kaido the way that he's in now. Like he doesn't have enough Conqueror's hockey or armament hockey or future sight to really improve enough to fight him. He needs to improve, and Kaido captures him. He captures him and puts him in jail. So that's the end of Act One. That's literally what happens. Like Act One, Luffy gets sent to jail, and that's the end of it. Everybody else is alive, and he was basically the scapegoat. So now they're trying to find a way to get Luffy out, but also just like trying to work around how they're gonna gather up enough forces to revolt against Kaido. Because at the end of the day, that's still what they're here for, right? They're still here to revolt against Kaido. But that's the end of it. That's the end of Act One, and I'm telling you, like it's so good. Act One is so good. I may be misremembering some stuff, and if I am, I'm sorry. Let me know in the comments below. But Act One is just peak fiction. Like it delivers on a lot of fronts. It's such a good start to Wano, and it had me so excited to see what was happening. Because Wano, when I caught up like around the middle point of Act Two. So seeing Act One, I was almost done. Like I was almost done with One Piece, and this was before I started reading the manga. This was all that. So Wano was where I caught up, and Act One like was the full, like the last complete section of One Piece that I saw before I caught up fully, and now I just had to play catch up with the arcs. But man, was Act One so good? Genuinely so good. I love it. Peak fiction for sure. Wano Act Two, like I'm just going into the spoilers immediately. For spoiler-free people, just know Wano Act Two is the best part of Wano, like no doubt, 100% the best part because of some stuff going on in this arc. But overall, it was just things were great, amazing during this part. This is the peak of Wano for me. So yeah, spoiler-free section over. Spoiler stuff begin. So Wano Act Two basically picks up where Luffy is in prison. He sees that Kid is there as well because Kid got beat up by Kaido like a while ago, back when Luffy was still like a Whole Cake Island, or maybe even before that. So Kid's crew is in Wano as well because he got beat up. So Killer is there as well. We'll learn more about him later. And a lot of people are in jail. Like a lot of the Red Scabbards are in jail as well, and just a lot of people from old Wano that were really important. And again, I'll talk about them later. But Luffy, while he's in jail, is basically, I need to learn better hockey, so I'm gonna practice while I'm in jail, then break out and then fight Kaido. And surprisingly, one of the people here who was from Old Wano is really good at armament hockey and just piercing through it. Because Kaido has thick skin, and the reason for it is because of his armament hockey. So one of the old people here who was a member of one of like the old gangs in Old Wano, he's here to help Luffy because he sees that like yo, this guy could really beat Kaido if he has the training and if he has his mindset right, he can beat Kaido. So I'm gonna help you out because I know that you're here to help us. And Chopper is there as well. He's in prison because he came to save Luffy as well, like to help him out. So that stuff is going on. Meanwhile, outside of the prison, everybody's getting ready to find a way to set up the invasion. And what I forgot to mention in part one was the fact that they planned for the raid to happen on Kaido, which is basically let me explain. So Onigashima is the island that Kaido lives on. Onigashima is different from Wano because Onigashima is a smaller subsect of it because Kaido made it so. So that's where Kaido and his beast pirates live, while Wano is where Orochi and everybody of its residents, its denizens, live. So if they're going to Onigashima, that basically means that you're cutting off the one of the heads of the Hydra. So if you take out Kaido, you basically take out Orochi. But that doesn't mean that you can't afford to not take out Orochi as well. So he's also going to be there because Kaido and Orochi are going to be celebrating together, all that stuff, and now they have to plan when to attack. And when they're going to attack is on the day of a festival, and they're going to go there. They're going to raid Onigashima, and they're going to basically take back Wano. So that was the plan in Act One. In Act Two, they're trying to figure out a way to recruit people and a way to find a way to keep the plan safe because until then they have to make sure that nobody's ratted out, nobody's cooked, right? And Law got kidnapped as well. They have to save him later. They do, but right now that's what's happening. Zoro, on the other hand, is traveling still because of the fact that Luffy got kidnapped and just all this stuff, right? He's traveling around Wano trying to find some stuff, trying to find his swords, all this stuff. And he meets a bunch of people. He meets a fox on a bridge. He fights him. He beats him up. Finds out that this is actually somebody important, but don't worry about him. He's important later. We also find out that we meet a lady named Hiyori, and she's being chased by a guy. And spoilers, well not spoilers, but we find out that this guy is killer. Uh, I, I I I forgot his name, like something killer, but um, this dude, he's the second in command for Kid. He's like the Zoro to Luffy in the same way that Kid is, um, well, Killer is Kid's Luffy and all that. Well, excuse me, Zoro is Luffy's second in command, the same way Killer is Kid's second in command. Is what I'm trying to say. That's the comparison. But yeah, so Killer is chasing him, and they don't know that it's Killer until later on, until Kid explains it. But yeah, so he's chasing her, and Zoro intervenes. He beats him up, and he finds Hiyori. He protects them because Hiyori has a little girl with her, and we find out that this girl is a Toko, Yasui's daughter. That's important later. So Zoro takes care of her, and he's like, "Yo, what's happening? What's going on?" And she reveals Hiyori is a Kazuki. Momonosuke is a Kazuki as well. Momonosuke is Hiyori's older brother, but Hiyori's like 26 years old. Momonosuke's 8. So how is that aligned, right? Well, that is explained in Act 2, so don't worry. That is explained. But in the meantime, you have the stuff going on in the capital where Yasui, who again is Otoko's father, is found out to be a member of the raid party, and to take the fall for the group because if if the raid party is discovered, then everybody's dead. The plan fails, and all the time that they spent building and collaborating and trying to make this plan work goes down the drain, down the gutter. So Yasubi takes the fall for the plan, saying like it's just the ramblings of a madman. Like it was only me who was planning on doing that, nobody else. And to make an example out of him, Orochi executes him. He literally gets shot by firing squad. So he's dead. Like he took the fall for the raid group, and Kianaman and everybody knew who he was because he was also a part of the old Wano. Except he was even bigger deal than the guy in prison, because he was like a yakuza guy. He's crazy, and he's dead now. Like that symbolizes like yo, we really have to win now. We have to win. He gave us a second chance. We lost somebody important to us. Now we have to win. And now Toko doesn't have a father. And one important thing, very, very, very important thing. So if you remember all the way back in Punk Hazard, Caesar was making devil fruits, and they're basically meant to just give you powers without having like to find an actual devil fruit. They're meant to be mass produced, right? So Doflamingo took those devil fruits and was giving them to Kaido. So it was a chain. It was the chain of command. Kaido being all the way at the top, and Kaido was using these devil fruits for his soldiers in his army, giving them devil fruits that give them powers and just makes them stronger, right? But they're also defective. Some of them are defective, and they're known as smile fruits, and that kind of plays into it. So the reason they're called smile fruits is because if they're defective, all you get is just a permanent smile on your face. Whenever you feel any emotion, whether that's anger, sadness, or like anything in between, you laugh. You're always smiling, even if you're crying, and it's super jarring, right? And it's cruel because all of the defective smile fruits get sent to the poorer denizens of Wano. So people like Otama and Otoko and just all the people that helped out Luffy when he was trying to find Otama some food, they all, almost all of them, ate a small fruit because they were so hungry. They didn't have any food because the upper Wano, where Orochi is at, has more food. They get all the food. They get preference. So people are just stuck with permanent smiles. They're suffering. They're poor. They're hungry. Like it's no equality. On top of that, pollution and the factories that are being run in Wano. Like the prison is a factory. That's one of the big reasons why there's so much pollution, because Kaido made this prison, which is also a factory, and it's polluting all of Wano and all that. And on the other hand, back to Luffy, we have Big Mom, who's in Wano. She and some of her crew, like Pedos showed up in Wano, and they're what's it called? They're here because they're trying to find Luffy and also because of Kaido, right? So she lost her memory, but she got it back in prison. So it was a Big Mom, but she wasn't a threat. Now she's a threat, and now she's in prison trying to find Luffy and all that. And she tries to beat him up, but she gets sent flying away, and Kaido finds her, and she's like, "Oh shoot, Kaido, let's talk." Blah blah blah. And so they have a meeting, and now Kaido and Big Mom are basically buddy buddy. Some would say even lovers, where they're uniting crews together and they're gonna rule the world together, where they're gonna find the One Piece and just rule together. Like I said. Meanwhile, after Big Mom leaves, like it's just a whole mess. Things are going crazy. You have what's it called? The prison just being overrun, riots happening, Luffy training, all this stuff. And there's some members like I forgot this dude's name, but the Kappa in prison as well. He's also part of the Red Scabbard. He's in prison and he helps out Luffy and all of them. And Luffy gets poisoned because they have poisonous gas, the same one that was used in what's it called? Um, Jack when he was invading Zoe, and the person who made it was Queen, and Queen was in prison as well, like trying to get test subjects and all that. He fought Big Mom, put her away, or not put her away, but like lived against her. So that's why she is with Kaido right now, because he told him about it. And Queen basically dropped this huge poisonous gas that was turning people like it was killing them. And Chopper made an antidote, all this stuff, which is a reoccurring thing that you'll see later on. But Queen is a villain, wholehearted villain. He's the one of the performers, or I don't remember what the crew is, but the top three dogs under Kaido is King, Queen, and Jack. Kind of like, oh, it's based off of cards, but you know, whatever. So Queen is evil, genuinely evil. King is debatable, and Jack is just following orders, not really much else. But you know, Luffy has this crazy speech in prison, like, "Yo, I know what happened to Kazuki Oden. I know that you guys are afraid. I know that blah 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 blah. But the only way you can stop being afraid and live your life and go back to normality is by beating him up." And then like, he's talking about Kaido and just like, "We have to fight. I will help you guys. I will lead the charge. I'm not a Wano native, but I'm here to fight for you. All right, I'm here on a promise. Kazuki Momonosuke, he's here." And then and Momonosuke's just like, "Dog, help this nigga right now." And everybody starts cheering, starts whooping. It's like, bro, we did it. Kazuki Momonosuke is alive, and he's here to help us. And so Luffy breaks out of prison. Everybody gets out. Everybody's cured. At least the people that managed to live. And now it's preparation for Act Three, where we have Luffy still training. Zoro got Enma, which is a sword, a demon sword that Kazuki Oden used to use, and he traded one of his old swords that he got from the Wano guy in Thriller Bark for it, because that sword is a national treasure. So instead, he already gave him Enma for the time being. But regardless, yeah, that's the end of Act Two, where they're just preparing for the festival. Like it's like a month of preparation. Everybody's getting ready, and it's not done. This arc is not done. I am not done talking about Act Two because there's still more. Welcome to the greatest flashback in all of One Piece, the Kazuki Oden flashback. And you may be thinking, but what about Robin's flashback? What about Brook? What about Corazon or Sanji's or uh yeah, just like stuff like that. What about those? And it's like, don't worry, they all made me cry just as much. But Kazuki Oden, this flashback is undeniably, except for maybe when like Kuma gets a flashback in like the future or something. But this flashback is undeniably the best flashback in all of One Piece. It is so long. It's like 30 episodes. It's super long. It's super cool. Like it's awesome. Genuinely, guys, it is one of the best. if not the best flashback I've ever seen. So let me get into it. So this flashback, we're seeing Kazuki Oden from his teenage years all the way until his death, right? And this guy is Momonosuke's father. And we actually do get to see Momonosuke and Hiyori being born as well. Like, we see them alive. But this was like 40 years ago in the land of Wano, right? The man's super young. And in Kazuki Oden's younger years, we see the Red Scabbards being formed. Okay, so all the members from top to bottom, I had to look it up because there's so many of them. You have Hiyori, you have Momonosuke, you have or Okiku, you have um, the Cat Viper and Dog Storm, you have Kawamatsu, which was the Kappa guy I was talking about, you have Raizo, you have Ashura Doji, you have Denjiro. That was the guy whose name I forgot, it was Denjiro. Haven't mentioned it at all. You have Kieneman, which is like basically the pseudo leader, and you have Kazuki Oden, who's the member. He's the guy who what's this dude's name? They protect them basically. They protect Kazuki Oden because he's royalty. He's actually royalty. So we get to see the formation of the Red Scabbards in Kazuki Oden's flashback, and it's just super cool. We also get to see again Momonosuke and Hiyori's birth, but I'll talk about that later when we get to it. But his early years is just Odin forming the Red Scabbards. Unintentionally, too, because he didn't want anybody to follow him, because he just likes being a free spirit. The man was in a strict club when he was 15. Like, the man's a demon. The man's certainly a demon, but he's a free spirit. And what he wants to do is he wants to leave Wano because he's tired of it being so restricted. He's tired of no freedom. He wants to go out and see the world because he's seen some things like, oh shoot, people are here and they're cool. I want to see more of them. And one of those people is actually Whitebeard. Whitebeard, when he was in his prime, back when Roger was still alive, he came to what's his dude's name? He came to Wano, and he actually met Kazuki Oda, and he was just like, "Yo, this is cool. You're a cool guy." And Whitebeard actually didn't want him to get on the ship, but Odin, as soon as they were and embarking, I think is the word, embarking to go somewhere else, Odin stayed on the line, like on the line for the anchor while they were sailing for like 3 days, like so long, like just water going all over him, mad cold water, no food, no nothing. He was holding on for 3 days, and after that, they were just like, all right, just put him on the ship, like it's whatever, who cares, right? And so, Okiku's brother, he to me he is a member of Red Scabbard. I don't know why he isn't counted as one, but I guess they're counting him the same way that Shinobu isn't a member of the Red Scabbards or Yamamoto. Excuse me, not Yamamoto. That's the wrong anime. um, y- Yamato. There you go, Yamato. They're counting him in the same facets that they are, which is I think is kind of dumb. But they already have 9 members without Izo, so I guess it's like whatever. But yeah, Izo isn't a member of the Red Scabbards, but he was one of Kazuki Oden's retainers. So he followed him, and he also joined the Whitebeard crew, which Odin joined as well. So now they're pirates, full-fledged pirates. And now we get to see the start of Odin's pirate adventure. He writes down all of his adventures on a book, which we see later on, but he's just writing down all this stuff, his life. And it's super cool because we get to see so many islands, all this stuff. Get to see him explore, get to see him learn, and he can decrypt the poneglyphs as well, so he's useful. And he's just having a good time. He's having a fun time. His children are being born because he met this one girl. I forgot her name, but she's actually a time traveler because her devil fruit is the Toki Toki fruit, and she came from the past, like 900 years into the future. And so they got married, and they had Momonosuke and Hiyori. And while on the sea, uh, Roger finds Whitebeard, and they have a fun scuffle, right? Where it's Roger, Rayleigh, all these people, right? Crocus is even on his crew, and they're all just beefing with Whitebeard. They're having a crazy time. Cool fight. It lasts like mad long, a bunch of days, and Odin's fighting all of them. Everybody's fighting. You have Marco on Whitebeard's crew as well, Blackbeard as well. Like all this stuff is going crazy. You have Shanks and Buggy on Roger's crew as well. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? But they're all fighting, and then they stop because they're having a nice chat. Roger and Whitebeard are brothers basically. They're not legally or like binding by blood or anything like that, but they are really close, like really close, like the same way that Roger and Garp were. But regardless, they're having a chat, and Roger finds out that Odin is he can read the poneglyphs, and he's like, Whitebeard, please let me take Odin on my ship for a while. I'm not keeping him, but I need him. I need his expertise. And Whitebeard's like, come on, man, but he's my son. You know, like my family. You know, Whitebeard pirates are all a family, right? And they're having a hard deal. They're trying to iron things out. And then Roger's just like, please, Whitebeard, please, let me do this, bro. Teach, or excuse me, Edward Newgate, I think is his name, or something Newgate. But please. And then Whitebeard's like, all right, fine, take him, but bring him back. And then he's like, all right, bet. And so Roger has attained Odin on his ship, and now they're all just going through their journey. Roger is now trying to find the One Piece. Like he takes a similar route that Luffy did, where, well, no, Luffy took a similar route that he did, except Roger did it in like reverse order, where he got to like Skypiea last and all this stuff, and it's super cool because you just see all these members of Roger's crew, some young, some old, like people who are really important in the world now, seeing them super young and seeing that they were really nothing back then. And then seeing Odin and how he was a part of it, like, because we didn't know anything about Roger. Like, genuinely, all we knew were the stories that people told us about him in the future. Like, again, like Crocus, like Rayleigh, like people like that. Or, like, because Shanks doesn't even mention Roger. The only thing they mention is that Buggy and him were on the same crew on Roger's ship, and that's it. So it's like, bro, that's so cool. That's genuinely so cool that we just get to see all of this. So we get to learn more about Whitebeard, God rest his soul. We get to learn more about Roger, God rest his soul. All of this, all these people, and it's just, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so what's it called? They find the One Piece and they just laugh because laugh tale and all that stuff, right? But they finally find the One Piece and it was just peak, bro. After all that exploration, after Odin raised his child, and it's just like they're all here, they're having a good time. Roger dies because he gets executed. So Odin goes back to Wano, and it's like a while later, actually, like 10 years later, probably, or something like that. Like it's a long time, and we find out Wano was not in a good spot. Odin left him to dry or hang to dry. Orochi's trying to take over all this stuff, and Odin's just trying to get back his throne to take care of things, but he realizes that he left his home. He can't come back like nothing happened. His life wasn't his own. He had people to take care of. And so things lead to another where Orochi gets power and he tricks Odin, basically, all this stuff. Because Orochi hates him. It's the whatever his clan is called versus the Kazukis, because it's just a race war going on. And Orochi's gonna take every chance he gets to embarrass Odin. And Kaido is also there now, so Odin is just trying to protect his family, protect his people, his island, all this stuff, but it's not working. And they execute him. They kill him by boiling him, boiling Odin, which is disgusting, like genuinely horrendously evil, so evil. And it's super sad because his retainers were actually going to die with him, but Odin was holding all of them up, every single one of them, and he threw them out of the pot. And it was just him. He died in the pot, and he was actually about to escape because it was basically like, yo, survive in this pot for 60 minutes, and you can escape, like hot, boiling hot pot. And he was about to, but they shot him, and they killed him. So it's like, wow, what the heck, man? What is that? What is that? But yeah, so Odin is dead, and now they're being hunted down. Like Kaido and Orochi are hunting down the rest of the Red Scabbards and um, Momonosuke and Hiyori. And here's how the plan goes down, right? So since Toki, or excuse me, their mom has a time traveling devil fruit, he sent both of them or one of them to the future with like Kianaman, Kanjuro, Raizo, all these people, right? Oh, and Okiku as well. He sent them to the future. Oh, and Raizo, well, no, excuse me, Izo was not. He stayed with Blackbeard, or excuse me, Whitebeard, so he never came back. And what's it called? Which is crazy to me, right? Because he was a retainer, but then he changed, and it's like, huh, wonder what happened. But yeah, so Shinobu stayed, um, Kawamatsu stayed, Ashira Doji stayed, their mother stayed, Hiyori stayed, so that's why she's 26 while Momonosuke's 8. Because in reality, Momonosuke is supposed to be 28 instead of just 8. Because they went 20 years into the future. But, regardless, now they're in the future, and the land of Wano is completely different. Way different from what it used to be. It looks exactly like what it looks like now. And that's the context. That is the flashback for Kazuki Momonosuke, excuse me, Kazuki Oden. And now in Act 3, the goal is basically, hey, let's let's take back Wano. Let's do what Kazuki Oden couldn't, and let's finish his job. Let's take care of business. Let's take care of business, and that's what Act 3 leaves off. And Act 3 is gonna be a lot to talk about, and I'm probably gonna skim over a lot of it because Act 3 is too long for my taste. So I am gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give it its fair share, but it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a long time. So just be ready. All right. So Wano Act 3. This one is a bit divisive for me. While it has some amazing moments and some hype stuff going on, and it's still going on now, so I'm gonna be pulling from the manga. So if you don't want me to talk about any manga spoilers in this video, like because I'm adding this in addendum to the other two parts, or at least I'm gonna try to. But if you don't want any manga spoilers or any up to date One Piece spoilers, stop watching now. Like I am not joking. Stop watching if you don't want any manga spoilers whatsoever. Wano is not done in the anime. I know this. It is almost done, but it is not done. So do not construe that for thinking, oh, I can just watch the rest of this video. You won't talk about it. No, I will talk about the manga spoilers. So leave now. I will give another warning when the manga spoilers are about to show up, but leave now. That is my one of my second to last warnings, so just be prepared. But yeah, so Wano Act 3 is basically Onigashima raid. That is all it is. It is beef on site on top of some other stuff, right? We get some flashbacks and some crazy reveals, right? So in the beginning, we actually get to see all of them unite, get to see everybody ready. We have Law, we have Kid, we have Luffy and all their crew. We have all the people from Wano ready to fight, and they're going to Onigashima, right? But one of the important things that got revealed was that Kanjuro is actually an op. He's a traitor. He works for Kazuki, or excuse me, not Kazuki, Orochi, because they're from the same family type thing, and so he's been trying to just well, he hates Kazuki Oda and all the Kazuki family, so he basically joined them to spite them and learn information, all this stuff to just have a man on the inside type thing. He's a traitor basically, and he kidnaps Momonosuke and they go to Onigashima. Now you have everybody ready, like, oh, then it's kind of like a morale killer, but everybody's like, dog, nah, let's just go. Let's go get Momonosuke. I don't care what anybody says, we're getting our nigga back type stuff. And one thing that was super important that happened in this arc, we finally got Jinbei back. He is finally a member of the Straw Hat crew. He came back just as soon as they were about to leave for Onigashima. And now they have Jinbei on their side. And man, let me tell you, they needed Jinbei. They needed him. So Jinbei's back. He's fully a part of the Straw Hat crew now. People like Robin, Zoro, Usopp, all of them. Since they didn't get to see Jinbei in Whole Cake Island, they know who he is because of Fishman, but not because of Whole Cake. Like they didn't see what he did there. Because that man's goated. He's saucy. He's the helmsman. So just be ready for him. And now I think it's only like one more person left to join the crew. I hope it's somebody, but don't worry. I'll talk about that later. So, what's it called? They're all going to the island now. They're all going to Onigashima. Onigashima is a floating island as well. So, or not a floating island, but it will be in a second, and I'll explain why later. But yeah, so they're going to Onigashima. They tried the stealth approach first. It doesn't work because Luffy sees people spilling red bean soup, and it reminds him of Otama and back in the beginning of Act One. So it's like, yeah, y'all are getting cooked, and Zoro joins in on him, and then they just start beefing. They all start fighting. So uh, an uproar is happening. Everybody's getting ready to fight. Everything's happening. All the people are fighting, and this is the part in um, Act Three that really gets me. Right, the pacing. Oh my goodness, the anime's pacing for Act Three is horrendous, egregious, boring, so bad. Like, at least with the manga, it's only like a couple pages, like 15 to 20, sometimes even 25. This is 23-minute episodes of just padding, complete and utter padding. You are going through the same episode over and over again for a while until something important happens. And it's like, okay, but why am I getting so mad about that? It's like, you've experienced it before. What's the problem now? And it's like, the problem arises when you're watching it week to week. And also, Wano has the worst of it because you have all these fights going on, storylines running concurrently, and not all of them are getting the attention that they deserve, right? So, how do you give them the attention they deserve? By making the arc longer. And how does that affect the anime? The anime gets longer and there's more padding. Because One Piece handles differently, where they make sure that the anime is always behind the manga by padding it out and at worst giving filler. So it's like, if you're watching the anime, you're struggling right now because you want to see the peak, and then you hear all the manga stuff going on, how like, oh my goodness, this, and this. It's like, yo, just hurry up, please, like hurry up. It's crazy and it's frustrating. It's genuinely frustrating because I loved how Act One and Act Two were going, and I loved the start of Act Three, and I love the ending of Act 3. But that middle, oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non binary pals, I cannot stress to you how boring, boring that section really is. Oh my gosh, bro. I could not stand it. I've been waiting to talk about this for so long. I think Act 3 is like a 6, at best, like a 7. I do not like Act 3 as much as I did in the beginning. Oh my gosh, I'm so bored, bro. Just week to week, and in the manga too, like week to week, just seeing over and over and over again how it was going. It's just like, man, I do not care. Like, please. And I'm not saying that in a sense like, oh, I just want to get to the good stuff. No, I don't mind having to watch story because I've seen it with Dressrosa. I've seen it with Whole Cake Island. It's just the padding. There's a limit to the patience, you know. There's a limit to the patience. Is all I'm trying to say. But regardless, let me just keep on talking about it. So I'm gonna skip a lot. You have all the people who fought the Straw Hat crew, right? You have Sanji versus Black Maria. Sanji lost that because he doesn't hit women, so he calls Robin for help, which is a nice moment for him. So it's cool. People don't like it because they think like it's, oh, he's a coward for that, but I view it in the sense that he's asking for help. So I don't mind it. I think it's fine. And then that fight switches from him to Robin versus Black Maria. It was super cool, you know, super cool. I don't think Brook had a fight. I don't remember him explicitly having one, but you know, we'll put that aside for now. Yeah, Frankie versus Sasaki. Super cool fight, really cool fight. You have Nami and Usopp versus uh Ulti and Page One. Super cool fight. It was nice. It was cool. You have what's this dude's name? Chopper trying to heal people in the main area. Whack. It could have been better. I feel like it could have been better because it was just, again, the padding, all this stuff. You have all the people fighting in the main area. It's like, it is cool, but we don't really care about a pink-haired guy who's just a normal samurai, who's had more screen time than Shanks. It's crazy. But the main area is all right. That's where most of the stuff happened. You have what's the dude's name? Um, you have Jinbei versus Who's Who, which was amazing, amazing fight. I thought it was so cool. I thought Who's Who versus Jinbei was like fifth best fight in the arc. Awesome, peak fiction. You have Yamato fighting Kaido, and that leads me into Yamato's backstory, where I feel like Yamato was wasted potential. Where she feels like or excuse me, he. He refers to himself as he, so it is what it is. He has a story that you think that he's gonna join the Straw Hat crew the same way that BB does, right? And it's like, oh, okay, that that it's similar. It's similar in that sense. And BB not joining, it's not like the worst thing in the world. It's understandable why she stayed. But with Yamato, it's been built up like the parallels between him and Odin. So you're thinking like, okay, he's probably gonna join at the end of the arc, but he didn't. And the problem isn't that he didn't. The problem is that there was storylines and narratives built up to show like maybe he will, but he didn't. It was just a slap in the face, like getting splashed with water. Like, no, Yamato isn't joining. What do you think? What do you think this is, bro? What do you think's happening? It was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, all right, whatever. But the way that he doesn't join, which I'll explain later, is what bugged me. So that's in manga stuff. I won't explain, or I will explain that later again. But yeah, so later on, we have Sanji versus King, or excuse me, Queen. Really cool fight. Probably my least favorite out of the trio fight. Super cool fight. Awesome fight. That I think in the anime is like about to end, so that's happening. You have Luffy versus Kaido. Best fight in the entire like arc, no doubt. Best fight for sure. Luffy versus Kaido is peak fiction. So it's awesome. The fact that the man got his foams ran for like 3 times and he still came back is crazy. Genuinely crazy. But yeah, King versus Zoro. It's not done in the anime, but second best fight in the entire arc for sure. Definitely. And that's saying something because you have a Law and Kid versus Big Mom, which is was supposed to be the second biggest fight, and it is, but it's not the best. Like to me, it's the fact that it's two people fighting Big Mom versus Luffy fighting Kaido, and it just goes to show like they are not the same. They are genuinely not the same. Luffy is just built different compared to those two. So it's like, oh shoot, it is what it is. But yeah, like, oh, Wano Act 3 just has a lot of stuff going on that I don't even want to bother mentioning because it's too much to remember. You have like X Drake switching from Kaido's side to Luffy's side. You have Scratchman Apoo being betrayed and all that and leaving Kaido's crew. You have Hawkins getting killed by Killer. Super cool fight, really cool fight. You have the government being there and watching what's happening because this will change the tides of the world for sure at the end of Wano, which is really cool. You have Big Mom and Pedos being there. You have the Minx being there. All this stuff, and then in the meantime, while this is all happening, you have Momonosuke and Shinobu. She turned Momonosuke into a 28-year-old. She because her devil fruit is the ripe bright fruit, so she embiggened him older, made him older. All this stuff. You have Onigashima flying over to the capital to crush the capital and become the new capital. It's like, oh, okay, cool. That's all right. And it's just crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff, and I'm being reductive because I'm kind of annoyed by what happened, but at the same time, it's good. Like it's not like it's a bad plot. It's just the way it was paced. To me, was the problem. So yeah, now I'm gonna get into the spoilers, the manga spoilers. Do not, and I repeat, do not watch if you do not want to be spoiled. I already let some of them slip by accident, and I'm sorry for that. Like the Yamato stuff, I'm really sorry. But this point forward, it's going to be all manga spoilers. Do not go forward if you do not want to be spoiled. You've been warned. So yeah, this is what's it called? This is where peak fiction happens. So Luffy and Kaido going crazy. Zoro and King. Zoro wins by dramatic fashion. Awesome fight. Peak fiction fight. Genuinely amazing. You have Law and Kid versus Big Mom. Good fight. It was a good fight for sure. I feel like it was kind of weird the way it ended, but it was cool. Genuinely a cool fight. I thought it was peak. But you have Luffy versus what's his name, Kaido, where we get to see the reveal of that's supposed to be a drum roll, sound like a gun, but whatever. Gear 5. Man, Gear 5 gets revealed in this arc, this fight. And it was such a surprise. You could look up at the internet when it happened, the day it happened, and the internet broke. It genuinely just broke. It was crazy. Twitter was on fire, Instagram was on fire, YouTube was on fire, Reddit everywhere. It was Gear 5 Luffy has been revealed. And it's like, dog, what the heck? This is so fire. This is so fire. Gear 5 is like everything that you didn't expect. It because it shows like he's the sun god Nika and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, this is so cool. And on top of that, it's playful, it's funny, it's cool, it's dope. No matter how you look at it, it's sick. I love Gear 5. And on top of that, like people think that it's supposed to be gold, but it is white. And it's like when you see it drawn, Gear 5 looks sick. It looks dope. I like it. And it's just it turns the tides completely in the fight. And it makes it a lot more even now because Luffy has something to fight like with now. And it's super cool, but then the government interrupts and it's just like, whoa, what the heck is going on? And it's just like what happened with Odin, where he got beat up by Kaido, and because the government interrupted the fight, it's like, or well, somebody else interrupted all this stuff, and it's just like, dang, bro, what's happening? But Luffy manages to beat Kaido. He beats him, bro. Like, generally runs his fade bar for bar. It's so fire, so fire. But he wins. Luffy wins. Big Mom is defeated. Onigashima is stopped. The explosives won't crash on the capital and everybody will die. None of that will happen. And they won. They won the Onigashima raid. And at the end of it, at the end of the arc, we basically get the same thing that happened in Dressrosa, where we get to see all the people hanging out one last time. Yamamoto drops the bomb. I keep calling Yamamoto. Yamato drops the bomb that he isn't going to be joining because he wants to have a different path from Kazuki Odin, or well, I guess to learn more about Odin. And it's like it was weird because you would think if he didn't join us because he wanted to be different from Odin, but it was just like I just want to be Odin and help people. But it's like, okay, so if you want to be Odin, you either stay or you go with them and you join their crew, or you stay and not be Odin. But the reasoning for the reason he stayed is just weird. It's super weird. I don't know. But am I a little upset that he didn't join? Yeah, because it was set up for so long that he could. But it's like whatever, you know. We're moving on. If he didn't join, that's fine, because that means that Momonosuke gets to have somebody that strong helping him. And on top of that, Momonosuke's cracked now too. He's the king. He's the emperor now of Wano. Orochi's dead. All this stuff. Kanjuro's dead. All this stuff. Like it's a new time in the land of Wano. Some people died in the war as well, but Momonosuke now is the ruler. He has Kianaman by his side. Okiku. I don't remember if Izo is still there. Marco left since he was there. I forgot to mention him. All this stuff, like the world in Wano is looking amazing. And now Luffy has an ally in the land of Wano because of what he did for Momonosuke. Like he genuinely helped him out and helped his country. Like he changed the world. And during this all, like we don't know what's happening outside in the real world and in the outside world. So I'm gonna cover that next in the Egghead Island stuff. So just be ready for that. That will be its own separate video. So just be on the lookout. But now Luffy, Law, and Kid are going their separate ways. The alliance is over, and they're each going their own way, and that will be important later on. Green Bull shows up, the new admiral. He's supposed to replace Aokiji. Same way with Fujitora, since Akainu went up to Fleet Admiral, and he's cracked. Like his devil fruit is crazy. But ooh, Shanks shows up because Luffy left and Green Bull then showed up. But Shanks shows up and he's like, "Dog, let these niggas have their dub. All right, get out of here. Get your out of here." And then he just collapsed Green Bull, bro. He's like, "You don't want no beef with an emperor." And then Green Bull's like, "I do not know. I do not want beef with an emperor." And then he runs. He just flees. No flocking, bro. And then Shanks goes back to his territory, which is Elbaf, and that's the end of it. Momonosuke finally got his territory back, finally got his island back, and avenged his father. And what a beautiful ending, right? It was great. But overall, like Wano had such a great start, a great middle, and a rough ending for me. I thought that Wano Act 3 was great in the beginning and great in the end, but in the middle because of the pacing. Like it's a great story and it's trying to do a lot. It's ambitious, but it just took so long, man. It took so long. So it's hard for me to really be like, yeah, this is a 10. This is a perfect 10. It's not. I think Wano's an 8, a 7.5 to an 8. That's all I can really give it. Like, I think the animation's amazing, beautiful. I think the story is great. I think the characters are great. I think the fights are awesome. I think the voice acting is amazing. I think the flashbacks are awesome. I think everything about it is good, but it's not perfect. And it sullies my opinion of it a lot when I see that part. And I don't think I can ever rewatch Wano because of that. It's too long. It's way too long. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's a 7.5 out of 10. I'll probably talk about it more later in the next video just because I have more time and I'm not rushing. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope y'all enjoy. Next video will be Egghead Island and the current manga stuff, so be prepared for that. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.